welcome in and thank you for tuning in to the What's Next podcast. Wherever you are around the country, welcome to a new week. Welcome to a new Monday and a new week. Today we're going to be tuning in with the legend of sales, Mike Brunel. I've recently read his book during lockdown as a bit of my own learning. You know that we preach continuing to learn. And I think this is an absolute cracker, and I asked if he would be kind enough to give us some time and jump on a podcast with you, with me, and we can pick his brain on how we can look at sales in a different way, how we can be better at it, and ultimately, sell some things and sell some other people in order to help them get closer to their goals and in order to help us get closer to our goals as well. So I will get Mike on the phone, and he will take a break from whatever he is doing down there in windy Wellington and tune in with us.
Hi, Mike here.
G'day, Mike. It's Luke speaking.
Hello, Luke. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you for giving us your time on this glorious Monday. I'm sure there's no wind in sight down there in Wellington.
No, not a breeze.
Not even a
Not
breeze.
A breeze.
Good man. Well, mate, I've just done a little intro before we rung and explained who you were and what we're going to be talking about today. But I just thought I'll give you the chance to start with to, I guess, sell to us or yourself and tell us a bit about what you do, and then we'll rip into some questions.
Okay, so what I essentially do is just help sales organisations and businesses and owners help make more sales in their business, really. But I worked in media for many years, Luke, selling radio actually. And one of the guys that owned the More FM network, or MediaWorks as it's known now, came up with a concept where he could pre-sell advertising solutions to advertisers. And he did that through his own media company, More FM. And he invited me to come and have a look at it, and I turned it into a sales system. And probably over the last 20 years or so, we co-founded a company called NRS Media with another partner, and we sold that solution around the world, and we ended up having an office in Toronto and Atlanta and Sydney. I spent 2 years in Atlanta setting it up.
Wow.
Then Cape Town, and then Bogota, of all places. And so we sold services to these media companies and essentially wrote around $250 million a year each year for them and their clients. So I sold that company about 4 years ago, and now I just work with companies to help them sell more of their products and services. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm a retailer and a wholesaler, as well as a cafe owner.
All right. You've got your hands full there, mate.
Yeah, but sales is my love, mate. I love selling and I love helping people sell.
Yeah. So when you sold the business, did you then get the itch to sort of pay it forward and start helping people understand how you've done some of those things and wanted to get back into that education and consulting space, did you?
Yeah, pretty much, because I realised I was just a young guy from New Zealand that was lucky enough to have great partners, and we built this great business around the world. And, we were just a service business selling consultancy services, Luke. We didn't get any help from NZTEA or whoever they were at the time.
Yeah.
We were just entrepreneurs that just, we'd invest all our own money. And, we lived off dividends and commissions and all those sort of things for 25 years, really.
Wow.
We had a great bunch of people, all from all over the world that worked for us. And, we really miss them now, I guess. But we may be getting back into it.
Oh, there we go. Well, I actually had a crack last year with my passion, my side hobby around selling some media. We were making some podcasts and radio shows that were recorded and produced live, and we were trying to sell sponsorship and advertising for those in the horse racing industry of all industries. And mate, it was tough, and like full credit to you for what you've been able to build. I wish I found this book that we'll talk about soon earlier in my life and sort of understood. And I'd seen you online a little bit, and I reached out a while ago and said, hey, is there an audio version of the book that you've got, because I've become a bit of an audiobook fan. But you were kind enough to send me a copy of your book, which is called Selling is Not Optional. And I sat down with this and thought, I might just, do the classic. I might just read a couple of pages and see how we go here. And we're in lockdown. And I ended up getting through it with a highlighter, a couple of different coloured pens, and in one sitting. So you've actually filled in a day for me in lockdown. So I've got to say thank you for that to start with.
Very kind. No, I appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on a few things from the book. And I guess before we do that, how can people, if they want to read a copy of this book, how can they order a copy which is called Selling is Not Optional, How to Master the Most Important Skills in Business and Life?
A couple of options. They can go to mikebrunel.com, which is really easy, and Brunel spelled Brunel. I've got a digital version, and I'm happy to send you the link on that, Luke, if you want.
Oh, cool.
If you share that in the podcast somewhere or in the notes somewhere.
Yep.
So that's the two ways people can get it. Anyone that buys it online, they just tell me who they are, and I normally autograph it.
Nice.
Whoop-de-doo. But people like to have their name in a book that's sent to them from someone, so that's how we do it. So that's how you get hold of it.
It's a nice touch, mate, and I've got mine here. Best wishes. Yeah.
So
good man. So I guess a couple of things I'm intrigued about, mate. One would be why are Kiwis so scared of sales, or why do we have this negative relationship with sales by the seams, or is that maybe just my view of the world and the word sales?
No, I think it's common all over the world, to be honest. And having worked in 23 countries and different languages, I think everybody just normally freaks out around the word sales. I think it's a natural thing because there's perceptions, right? So the perception is nothing wrong with car sales people or even radio guys.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that used car salesman mindset that people think, and people that have a product or service think they have to be like that. Whereas I was always taught to find out what the problem is before you ram the solution down someone's throat, and I was always taught to sort of come from the position of care-based selling, if you will, if you want to use that terminology, where you've got to find out if your client's got a problem that you can solve first. And that was what I was taught from a really young age in sales, and I really believe in that. Second thing is, I think we're all in sales, mate. I mean, I've been married 30 years plus GST, and I know that sometimes if I want to get something, done around the house or buy something for me or whatever, I have to sell that.
Yeah.
Even going out for a date night. So I kind of think we're all in the business of selling. But, if you come from a position of caring about the client and trying to understand if you can solve their problem, and if you can't, you just say, hey, look, Luke, I can't solve your problem. Sorry, mate, and walk away. But we've sort of been brought up to think that salespeople want to close you on the spot and all this sort of stuff, and it freaks people out, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I think I'd agree. And I mean, I guess I get frustrated when I receive sales pitches from people where I'm like, I don't even have this problem. Like, why are you wasting your time pitching this to me? And then people, they're not even trying to take time to figure out, is this actually going to be useful to me? They're just so adamant that their solution is the best thing on the market, where someone doesn't even have the problem. So yeah, I can completely relate to that. Problem first, then provide a solution, right?
Yeah, and it's also about the fit. So if you and I were working with a client, I'd really like to find out, what matters to them. Do they want that problem solved really now and then, or do they want it solved later on? What's the priority on that particular problem they want solved? The more priority that they have on something that needs to be solved, then the more committed they may be to it. But you just got to figure those things out first. And I think that's one of I had a cold call 2 days ago, Friday, and the guy rings me up and says, oh, hi, Mike, how you doing? And I'm going, oh, God. And he was selling software services, Luke. And I said, have you checked out my website? You're not going to believe it. He said, no, I haven't.
Oh, wow.
And then I was nice and I was polite, and I said, look, I'm a sales coach, mate, so I'm not going to give you a hard time. But you need to do your research. So yeah, and he's sitting in a room and his boss is beating him up because he hasn't made enough calls. Because I think what happens, Luke, is they think because you get rejected, you're doing okay because you've won closer to the yes. And I'm not sure if people like that sort of environment, do they?
Nah. So I guess that's a really good point, because So, what is the correct process if you're going to cold call someone, which I'd imagine most people
Yeah.
are too scared to do? But I sort of learnt that the better approach is to basically like avoid the "Hey, how are you" type things, and actually just be upfront and explain to someone quickly who you are and why it is that you're calling, and then ask if they're interested, and then start telling them more.
Yeah, look, I've been really blessed over the years because I've learned from some of the great sales trainers because we had to do that in our business. Because we're in the sales business, we had to find out what everybody else is doing, and we would look at their ideas and we would adapt them to our media or whatever solution we're trying to provide. And there's quite a few good trainers, but one particular guy that I like is the guy Ari Gelper, and his view of the world is you've got to um, be open to someone and say, hey, look, I wonder if you can help me for a moment. Have you got this particular problem in your business? And if the answer is no, then you say, hey, look, no problem. Thanks very much. If the answer is yes, you say, would you be open to exploring it a bit more? Or can we have a conversation around that? That's a lot softer than, hi, how are you going, Mike? How are you today?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of soft approach when you're talking to someone. I heard one yesterday. I was reading some stuff on LinkedIn, and the phrase is, "Hi, it's Mike here." Excuse the voice, mate. Hi, I feel a jock voice. Hi, Mike here. This is a cold call. You can hang up if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's just. I'm not sure if our young executives, and I'm a bit more mature now, but our young executives in their 35s to 45s, they know they don't want to be pitched like that, do they? I don't
Nah.
think they do.
Yeah. I mean,
And they're making big decisions in those companies too, my head.
yeah, and I think we see it all the time on social media and LinkedIn now, where people have got access to decision makers, and so they connect with them and say, "Hey, I see we've got mutual connections. I thought it'd be great if we connect." And you go, "Okay, then yeah," and then all of a sudden it's bang. Here's my pitch. Again,
Oh, yeah.
no true understanding of whether you have the problem or not. So I guess but I think what they're playing there is the numbers game, right? Of, well, if I
Yes.
send out
Yep.
200 of these, then I could at least say that 3% responded, and I got a couple on the phone after that. But who knows what that percentage could be if you changed it and you actually tried to figure out, firstly, before you got in touch, whether you think they're going to have that problem, and then simply whether you ask them if they do have that problem, and then if you can tell them more about your solution to that problem.
Yeah, pretty much. And then what's the urgency around the problem? Do they want it fixed today? Do they want it fixed next week? And just some, really simply scripted questions that you feel comfortable delivering that shape the call to go to the next stage if they're open to a meeting. What works for you, all those sorts of things. Figuring out how the client gets from you that you actually care about their business.
Yeah.
And are not trying to flog off something.
Yeah, that, because I guess most people are worrying that the person selling is just thinking about their own interests, right? So we've got to try and break down that barrier to get them to trust you, right?
Yep, yeah, and trust is another good word for it too. It's trust-based, stroke, fear-based selling. And I was taught that years ago that, if you don't know what their problem is, Mike, then don't tell them what you think they should have.
Yeah.
I hope my book reflects that, I guess.
I think it does, and I think one thing I learnt is it's sort of like when you go to a doctor, right? They don't try and diagnose you before you start talking.
No, that would be pretty scary, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know what your problem is, mate. Here's a
take these.
Here's prescription. Yeah, off you go. Thanks very much. That'll be $60.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's a good way of shaping that, actually, Luke, because it is like a consultancy type, discovery. Tell me more about you, blah blah blah. But having sometimes you've got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And you also got to have the courage to say, you know what, Luke, this doesn't work. This isn't going to work. My product mightn't work for you, but I might know someone that could help you. Would that be okay?
Nice. What a great place to leave somebody, with a potential solution. You're still trying to help them in some way, even if you aren't the solution provider. I think, going back to what you're saying before about we're constantly selling, like I went into a webinar the other day with more accountants, so probably one of the boringest webinars you can find, but something we had to do, and 50% of them won't have a camera turned on Zoom, for instance, and when they get asked to, when you go into breakout rooms, it's like, oh fuck, really, like they're frightened to, and I think, far out, how are you going to sell services and yourself if you're scared to sell yourself to 6 people of just a general conversation about what's happening in your own industry? So how do we break down some of those own fears around those types of things? I mean, it might be a little bit away from sales, but can you see any parallels there?
Yeah, I think it's about the word conversations. It's about having conversations with people. I mean, if you're sitting in front of an accountant that I know, which I'm a good friend with, I get him talking about boats. You can't stop the guy. I mean, seriously, he loves them, and any chance he's on the water. So somehow, as a person in a professional services that you consult to, etc., and you're in the club, it's not what you think that matters; it's what they think. You've got to have a genuine interest in them, and you have to find out what their likes and what they love and what they're passionate about. And I think that's part of the key. And I know it's hard these days because, I think in accountancy type environment shifted from more advisory because there are solutions, around to get the compliance. Luke, that's an important element still too, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's yeah.
But just a general advisory like you do, there's the fast Eddie, which is not acceptable in the accountancy line of business, which I talked about. And then there's a relationship one, which is fine. I better take you out for dinner and fill you up on grog. Or what? I don't think that goes on now, but you have to take your clients out and look after them and send them gifts and all that sort of stuff. And then the one in the middle is the one I talk about a lot, which is that care-based, trust-based selling, where you're genuinely finding out if you're a fit for lots of different reasons. And that's why, telling good stories about, some good case studies that's happened and different things that have happened in the firm or whatever, just break the ice, and then finding out about where they're at and what they do and their family and all that sort of stuff builds trust. And trust is, I think it's a new currency in this crazy world right now, and I think that might be useful for them. I don't know if that's answered that question, but
no, there's some good things. It actually, on that, I was thinking about that this morning, the exact same thing around trust, and I was talking about this with my business partner Phil, saying, we basically will guarantee our advisory fee for people that can guarantee us they will do the work, because we are so confident that we can actually help them achieve the things that they want to achieve, as long as they stick close to us and stay true to the path and follow the methodology. And I kind of look at it and think, right, if I say to someone, look, I'll guarantee you that you will make this fee back, like surely my phone will just start ringing, but it still doesn't. And you think the skepticism must still be so high for people in this day and age to think, I still am not too sure about that.
Yeah, I think there is that skepticism there. Because, I have a similar thing in one of my products where it's a sales program where people buy online. And my guarantee is, look, if you go through it and you don't like it after 30 days, I'll give you your money back.
Yeah.
And you can cancel at any time. I'm really lucky. I sell a few of those, but most people don't. Most people don't cancel. The odd one does, but that's because I don't want to fight with them. If they don't want to learn it, that's their problem. I can't make them learn it. So I think there is still a little bit of that skepticism. But how you build trust is my wife often tells me the way to a woman's heart is the unexpected gift at the unexpected time. So, for example, you don't send flowers when you get in trouble. You send them when they don't expect them. Yeah. So when you're building with your clients, if you have a really good client that you love and really respect and love working with them, send them something completely out of the blue, because that's trust building. They'll ring you and say, "Oh, why'd you send me that bottle of wine for?" Look, mate, I just want to thank you. Thanks for your help. But it's always at Christmas. It's always on their birthday and all those sort of days. It's never when they don't expect it. And And it's also, trust is about keeping agreements. So if you're going to be there at 9 o'clock, you're there at 5 to.
Yep.
If you say you're going to follow up with a phone call or a document, to make sure you do. Because it's like a little trust bank, Luke, yeah?
Yeah.
You keep loading it up. And then over time, they go, Luke's a good guy. He follows up. He says what he says he's going to do. And that's what I think clients want these days. I really do.
Mate, that's very powerful. I'm actually writing something separate around that, about how that's been one of my greatest lessons, I think, over this last 5 years, is actually self-confidence and trust in myself comes from me doing the things that I say I will do. So I try and carry that over to clients and family and other people. If I tell them I'm going to do something, I'm like, Luke, you better bloody do that, mate, because if you don't, you're eroding your own trust and your own self-confidence, and other people are going to then do the same to you.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely freak out if I'm late. And you caught me in the car running up the steps, didn't you, mate, when we first caught up today?
Well, I was calling you 10 minutes early, to be fair, so we'll let you off.
But my dad always used to say to me, and I still hear him, being on time is being early, son. And I can still hear it. I mean, he's been gone for 15 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of those little things that you promise yourself. You have to promise the client as well. And look, we all get distracted. We all don't always, we're not perfect. But those little things at the very beginning of a client relationship are really important to stack up, and keep stacking them up early and keep delivering them, because then they don't leave you. And, you've got lifetime value of your clients. And if you looked at a typical fee based for, say, an accountancy firm, say like I'm Mike Brunel and I spend $20,000 a year on all my entities, right?
Yeah.
With my accountants. Okay? I've been with that one accountant for 10 years, mate.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Yep. 200 grand lifetime value.
So if you look at a lifetime value of your clients every day, they're worth 200 grand to you, mate. What would you do if someone turned up at the doorstep and said, I've got 200 grand?
Yeah.
You'd be all over them like a cheap suit, wouldn't you, mate?
100%. That's so true for our industry. And like, we do a lot of social media marketing and stuff to get leads and whatnot, and put ourselves out there, and it's allowed us to avoid having to pay for a fee base, and we're often saying to ourselves, remember, we can recover this money so easily if we look at it as the lifetime value of this client that we truly want to work with and help achieve their goals, versus, oh shit, that's a lot of money to spend each month on marketing. And other accountants, they've openly laughed at us and said, what do you think you're doing on there? And we're like, well, it's okay. You want to pay $1 or $1.20 per dollar of revenue. We don't want to build a fee base that way. We want to do it, our way. So it's been an interesting journey.
Nice. Great example, mate. I mean, NRS Media, the media company that I owned, our lifetime value of a typical client was 5 years, and they spent 65 grand. They paid us 65 grand in commission a year.
Wow.
So when we sold that company, it had 20 million rolling revenue.
Far out.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what these people bought. But we were obsessed. We were obsessed with our clients, and our staff stayed with us for years as well, because we knew every time we got a lead, this is over 300K here, guys. We better make sure we do a really good job. And I think people don't realise, especially in the professional services area, the lifetime value of their customers.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. I think for everybody listening, is depending on, what industry they're working on. It's like, what is the lifetime value of this customer over the average that a customer stays for somebody. So actually being able to quantify that and work it out, you can figure it out, and you can treat it differently.
Numbers are so important, mate. And you guys live in the numbers world. I mean, we would be really clear on what was a lead, like what was a qualified client, what do they look like? We measure their closing rate, so we went and saw 10 people and we got 5 or 9 or 4. And then we worked out what the average sale was. But then what we used to work out was how many selling days of my team got to sell that one product or 2 products.
Nice.
And that was powerful. That changed our life.
Yeah.
Because most media companies, I think there's 250 to 225 sales days. So we had a little bit of a few other components to that, but we could go into a media company and we could pre-sell 30 to 40% of their revenue in 1 week with 12-month advertising contracts. So we loved it. You know, we were passionate about it, but it was all to do with the numbers. And the numbers are sitting in front of professional services guys all the time. And like you said, you've realised that, and it really works well for you guys.
Hey, speaking of numbers, how do we get the follow-up piece right? Like, how many times should we follow up, and how do we blend it with, are we getting, are we pissing this person off? Are we too pushy and all those types of things? What's the fine art there?
I tend to do maybe 2 or 3. The third one, I usually write an email that more or less says, look, I understand, I haven't heard back from you, Luke. I'm not writing to move the sale forward, or I'm not writing to, ask for the business. I just want to know, can you give me any feedback? Thanks very much. Because ultimately, if you're sending an email out to say, well, I haven't heard back from you, and why not? Well, that's probably why not.
Yeah.
I tend to say to clients when I work with them, here's my proposal. How urgent is it? Do we want to work through the numbers? Can you give me an answer now? If you can't, that's okay. I'll probably give you a call a couple of times, and then I won't bother you again.
Nice. So set the expectation up front.
Yeah, just set it up front.
Yeah.
And I tend to do quite well out of that one, because I've only made the offer if I work out that I want to work with them. Because sometimes I don't want to work with some people.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, I try and just manage their expectations as best I can, and I usually do it that way. Follow-up's a real challenge.
Yeah.
But if I had my salesperson following up 4 or 5 times, I would be thinking, I'm not sure if they did the discovery very well. Not sure if they did the first call very well. So maybe that's some training or support that they might need. Yeah.
Yep. Got it. That makes sense. So, yeah, okay, take them further down the path in the discovery call, and then, if you're getting ghosted, then perhaps you haven't quite covered off everything you should have in that first call, and set better expectations.
Yeah. And we do get ghosted, mate.
We do.
The reason that people work with us is it's all to do with their priorities.
Yeah.
And what pain point they're at, and all that sort of stuff, which is a bit more detailed. But yeah.
Hey, one of the things I highlighted in the book, and we were just sort of touching on it before, but the way you articulate it is, you have to believe what you are doing is right for the buyer. If you do not believe that, there is no way you will survive. You must understand what is in the heads of the clients who are buying from you. And, I think the reason I highlighted that is because I resonate with that so much, from actually, realizing through my journey that unless you really believe in what you're doing and the fact that you can help somebody, it's hard to have that conviction when you're talking to them to have that level of confidence, right?
Yeah, no, beliefs play a huge part in all our lives, workings, if you will. And, we get them from our parents, and we get them from our mentors as we go through life. But ultimately, beliefs drive it. But there is a great book, Luke, which I'd recommend the listeners to read as well, out of the mine, of course. But it's called Growth Mindset, Fixed Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. I think its spelling of a name is Carol Dweck. I just can't quite remember. It's absolutely brilliant, especially if you've got kids.
Okay.
And it talks about a fixed mindset. And I think I mentioned it in the book, actually, and all about growth mindset, and the ability to look at something even when you're 40, 30, 20 is okay because you don't know. But when you're 30 or 40 or 50, and you look at something and go, well, I actually thought it was this, but maybe I'm open to learning. Maybe I could approach it differently. And Carol has this great term that she calls not yet. And every time you come up against a challenge, you just say to yourself, I haven't got it yet, or not yet. I'm going to do this, but not yet. And it kind of just switches your mind to open for learning. With fixed mindset is, I hate sales. I tried it once, it never worked. I'm never going to sell anything. I'm useless, all that sort of stuff. That's fixed mindset in relationship to selling. Where growth mindset is, look, I went and saw Luke last week. I didn't kind of get the deal, but what did I learn? I tried sales once, and it was hard. But what would I do next time? So it's just the language that you say to yourself is
Nice.
around growth mindset. So that's a really, I highly recommend that book. It's fantastic.
Yeah, just having a look at Skier Carol, Dweck, Carol Dweck.
ECK.
Yeah, growth
Yeah, that's
mindset.
it.
Yeah, that sounds like a ripper. All right, mate, I won't chew up too much of your Monday, but a couple of
No problem.
questions to finish.
Yeah.
What's the number one thing that people get wrong with sales, do you think, if you could pinpoint it to sort of one thing?
They think their product's the only thing that matters.
Okay. Yeah. And they
And the client's looking at across the desk from him thinking, are you trying to sell me something, or are you just trying to flog off something, or do you actually want to know what my problem is?
Yeah. It's if I look back at the last 4 years for Next Advisory, like the amount of time that I wasted in meetings with people trying to sell me things that I didn't want, where almost like I should have qualified, like done their job for them and just been upfront and be like, we do not need a coffee. We do not need an hour to find out a little bit about each other. And then for me to hear how you have got this amazing fax machine that I could use in our accounting practice that A, doesn't have an office at this stage, and B, we haven't used a ream of paper. And I'm like, oh my God, I've driven here. What have I done? And try to take those lessons and take them over to my own, practices of selling now too, and actually really understand, is this product the thing that's going to help somebody? And like you said before, if it's not, then hey, let's bin the conversation and carry on.
Well, we used to say to our sales team, if you don't have a plan, stay in the car.
Nice.
And that was always a bit of a joke between the guys, but it's so true. If you don't have a plan to find out what the problem is from the client, then just stay in the car, mate.
Yeah, that's a ripper. Hey, finally, how important is speed these days, and have you seen that change? Like just in terms of those sort of loose stats, around 80% of business goes to the person who responds first, and how quickly are people now expecting that we are getting back to them and keeping in the loop with them and communicating with them?
I think look, it's a hard one to answer because I think maybe in our younger folk, right, that are starting out and doing sales, they feel the pressure to respond quicker. I think as you kind of figure out when you get a little bit more mature in your business, there is certainly that need to get back to people, but in a way that supports your business, so you're not running around like the proverbial, trying to solve every problem for them.
Yeah.
So I think, but if I get an opportunity into my office, I always respond as fast as I can. But I have a knock off clock, and I don't tend to work past that because from a sales aspect, I've also got the retail and I've got the cafe and all those sort of things that have to happen. But I think there's a real shift though, where, and I'm really put my hand out to you, Luke, is that you actually sat down and read that book, okay, and you learnt lots from it. All right, but you get all these people sending you stuff. You can read a book in 15 minutes and get this much and that much. And I think there's nothing quite like holding a book or reading a book online and actually completing it, taking notes, learning from it, and applying it as quick as you can to your business.
Yeah.
So I think that was I'm not sure if I've answered that question, mate. Sorry.
Oh, you got me thinking though, because I meant to say the one thing that I really appreciate about a book like this is that I look at it as, it's your life's work, right? Like there's so many of your lessons from your life in here. And I took actions, like stopped and was like, I'm going to go and do that right now because I'm a bit of an activator. And it actually helped me move Next Advisory forward because I went and did things that I thought, oh, I can do that right now. And I grasped that. And so I'd go and do it. And so I think the way you've written it makes it so simple for people to understand this and actually go away and take some action. So that's probably what encouraged me to actually keep reading it. And it's not a massive book, and it's well spaced out for words, mate. As soon as I pick up a book that's got too many words, my negative beliefs kick in and think, oh, that's going to take me too long.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I got a lot of support and help from my wonderful editor, Sheila. She was amazing.
Oh, nice. And
So no, it was good. It was good fun.
I guess a personal question to finish with.
Mm.
I think a lot of business owners, they dream of building up a business, putting in a decade's work, or maybe even doing it faster these days, flicking it off, selling it, collecting the check, and then going, right, I'm done now. I clocked the game. But you've obviously done part of that and then gone, right, you still want to have your finger in various pies and do different things. What is it that drives you or keeps you energetic, and have you had to maintain that throughout your life and build ways to keep you fired up for the things you're doing?
No, yeah. Look, I think it's just a pure satisfaction of helping someone out and getting a result. I'll give you a quick specific example. When we ran our media company, we used to go into a media company. We had 10 salespeople in front of us. We wanted them to sell an advertising solution to their advertisers, accountants, doctors, lawyers, and candlestick makers. So we brought them all into a seminar, which we can't do these days, and we pitched them an offer. And the salespeople would, at the end, say, look, this offer is available only for this week, which was true because the advertising revenue wasn't available for much longer. And one guy came up to me one day and he said, Mike, you know what? You've changed my life. I can now put my kid through college.
Wow.
This is in the States. And I'm thinking, I'm breathing heavy, right?
Yeah.
But since that day, I reckon that when someone gets a result that I work with and they go, hey, Brunel, they call me Brunel as a nickname, hey, I tried that thing you did and it worked and it was really good. That's my buzz.
Yeah.
And that's with my new project with the media company we're pitching. One of my business partners in his 70s, and he's come up with this brilliant idea, and we're going to pitch it. And I'm so excited, mate. We're both excited.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because that's our buzz. That's what we get. That's our buzz out of it. So to answer your question, I just think it's that satisfaction of helping someone out. That I've been through all the scars. I've fallen right over the rocks. I've been, as I say in my book, in Motel 6s in the US, which is not greatest motels, but
Yeah.
they were cheap. We learnt the hard way, and why not get a role model or someone that maybe has done it, and made heaps of mistakes. So that's why I do it, mate. That's honestly why I do it, and I love it.
Helping someone out, outstanding.
Yeah.
Have you found that in your life? I mean, you're deep into it now, but when you really grasp sales, taking you back a couple of decades ago, it changed your life forever, where you thought, actually, I'm going to be pretty sweet in life now because I can identify how to sell something or how to basically look after myself in terms of monetizing, providing a solution for someone's problem?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think I was really lucky because I had two great partners, Doug Gold and Brian Duffy, and they were my mentors. And then they asked me to come into business with them. And then we developed this concept, and it really started to go take over the world. And then I realized that there were two key things. First of all, have a product that you believe is a good product, sales systems around it, and then leverage. A simple act of selling one product over and over and over again to as many people as you can. So if you look in the accountancy world, that's the leverage model that Xero has, correct?
Yeah.
If you think about it, we did the same in advertising for radio, TV, and newspaper and digital to some extent, selling 12-month advertising contracts to advertisers to promote their business on that media. And as I said to you, that was when the lights came on for me. That, God, if I could just develop a system to sell the system and then take it to the world, that was the key. So if you're a small business owner and you're really good at what you do, systemize your business so you can bring someone else in to help you, or do it yourself. But that's the only way I think you can grow. Luke, do you think just understanding the leverage side of it as well?
100%, mate. Like I've even noticed for Phil and I, very early, once we started getting to, an X amount of number of clients, we were like, shit, mate, this isn't very sustainable because we can't scale it because the leverage isn't there, because we're driving, we're meeting with them, those types of things, and we could see there's going to be a ceiling with that, and so I think it's that keep it simple piece, right? Where I think we're so tempted to add more features and add more services and complicate things rather than go, righto, what's the core offering here? What's the product? How can we put a system around it? And then how can we just keep rinse and repeating it and making sure that people are getting results from it so that, they're in a better place and they go and do our marketing and stuff for us as well in terms of their feedback.
and I think if you think about lead generation and getting people into your door and everything, that's what my book is, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just I wrote a book. I got passionate about it. It probably saved my life because at the time the company that bought my company, they lost a lot of people very early on because they wanted to take it in a different direction. And my book was really good for my spirit. So I wrote the book, and then I just sent it out to people, and now we're talking.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to just share what I love and what I've done.
Good man. It's got an interesting feel to it as well, the front and back cover. It's almost got like a bit of a, what is that? It doesn't feel like a normal book.
No, it's just the way it's printed. The way it's printed is it's just the printing of it. It's quite soft. It's got a nice texture on the cover, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Holding
And
it
it's
now.
got really good. Apparently, it's got really good stuff inside as well, right?
It does, mate. It does. You've done a hell of a job. Well, mate, I want to thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those lessons with people, and then even giving us the time to jump on and have a chat today. For context, people listening, we've never spoken in person before on the phone. Just a few messages back and forth. So thank you for answering my call. And yeah, if people want to get the book, which I highly recommend they do, if you're listening to this and you can't afford it, I'll bloody pay it forward and pay for 5 copies. So it's mikebrunel.com, and there's
and that's it, mikebrunel.com. Sorry, mate. Yep.
You're right, and then there's a digital version as well if people want to read it on their iPad or something like that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link for that.
Too good. And can people work with you one-on-one if they want to through their business, or are you tapped out capacity-wise?
There's a couple of options. I tend to do group coaching. So I've got a few clients that come on group coaching with me. I've also got a sales mindset blueprint program, which is, I think, $100 a month, and you get a monthly call as well with me.
Yep.
And that's about it, really. And anyone that wants to work with me one-on-one, then we just, we just talk about how that works best for them. I have a few clients, which are one I think which I can tell you at some other stage, that we work with, and I sometimes go into a company, right, and I look at their business and think, oh, these guys need marketing. So I have a marketing guy that comes in and helps me. Because, it's a bit like sharing the love.
Yeah.
I'm good at sales. I'm pretty good at marketing, but I have a really good guy that does all the marketing for me. So he comes alongside, and we fictionally call him the colouring in department. So he comes in and helps. We've got a few clients that we work with like that. That's a good way to do it. And I tend to come in and do a sort of sales audit where I come in and see where you can improve, but that's just having one-on-one sort of thing. And I usually do about 5 or 10 of those a year, maybe.
Yep.
Something like that, but like in your area.
Wicked.
Sort of same structure.
Cool, mate. Okay, well, I think that'd be well worth people checking out as well. Your sales mindset blueprint that you've got there as well. If it's only $1,200 a year, I'm sure people will recover that pretty bloody quickly as well.
Yeah, it's just one sale for some people and half a sale for others. But I've just loaded everything in the book into that course, and I've just shared it. It's got videos and all that. I just wanted to dump it, and somebody helped me, and I think we're launching that in a couple of weeks. So I'll keep you in the loop on that.
Good man. Cool, mate. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we will stay close and keep up the good work. And yeah, if people want to read your life's work, then mikebrunel.com and get that book and do some learning. Thanks again, mate. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks very much, Luke. Talk soon.
Cheers, Mike. Talk soon. Catch ya.
Bye.
There we go. It was an absolute cracker with Mike there. Some huge lessons in there. I suggest maybe go back and listen to this a couple of times, but some great takeaways around, actually having a genuine interest in those people who you are trying to sell with or trying to do business with. Mike's huge in this book talking about looking at sales as relationships rather than using the word sales, and talking about how trust is potentially the new currency. And if you don't have a plan, stay in the car. And being on time is being early, which is Mike's dad, and he can still hear that lesson ringing in his head. So just a reminder that sometimes those small things are so easy that we can be in control of, and they can give us huge confidence, allow us to trust ourselves, and allow other people to trust us as well. And of course, people will work to their priorities. So it's not necessarily that what you are trying to sell isn't what they want. It is just not a priority for them right now. And see if you can seek feedback from them for when they might want to progress working with you or pursuing your solution. Again, a reminder, if you want to check out Mike's book, then you can do that at mikebrunel.com. The spelling of his last name is Brunel. We are in no way affiliated with Mike. He is not a Next Advisory client either. He's just somebody that I came across and I have learnt a lot from, and I thought, well, if I'm learning from, then I would like to send some of those lessons your way as well. And I'm sure, I can guarantee you that if you get this book and you implement some of the things that are in here, you will get a result from it. So, don't just listen to this and then jump into the next piece of content. Go and do something with some of the lessons you've heard today, or go and get this book. Keep it close, highlight some of the things you need to do, and take action on them. As always, execution is the key. Ideas are great, but unless we're actually taking action off the back of some of these things, then we're not going to progress. There you go, an absolute cracker for your Monday to get you learning. We bring you the good content. We want to see you, well, I got the word sell in the mouth. We want to see you improve your business and improve your life. If you want to get in touch, lnp@nextadvisory.nz. We will see you later in the week. Thank you to Mike.